Howdy folks, my name is Richie, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about my impressions about The Secret World. This is an MMO that is set to be released this coming Tuesday, July 3rd, 2012. Now, I recently got to be in the last and final beta weekend event. I haven't really been following the game too closely. This was my first time playing it. I got to play for about 6 hours, and so I'd like to share my thoughts based on those 6 hours. Now, keep in mind that, of course, MMOs oftentimes have players playing for hundreds and hundreds of hours, so I can't comment on most of the game. I'm just going to comment on what I saw, because that's what kind of makes sense, right? So, what do I feel? This game is very interesting, and when I say interesting, I don't mean that in the kiss of death sort of way. I mean it in the genuinely interesting, intriguing way. This game has a genre that is, it's a modern-day setting, with a whole bunch of like mysterious things in it. So there is some supernatural stuff going on. There's like zombies and weird organizations with all kinds of powerful allies and powerful ways to manipulate people, and there's a whole bunch of things going on, and it's all kind of crazy and cool. But it is a modern day setting, but it's mixed in with kind of like some arcane powers too. I mean, so you could see some people are throwing like fireballs or lightning bolts and stuff, and there's other people like shooting assault rifles and stuff like that. So it's a weird mix. There's not too many games on the marketplace, especially MMOs, that actually fit this kind of genre, so that's very refreshing and interesting to see. 90% of the MMOs out there are going to be either fantasy or they're going to be sci-fi genre. So this kind of fills a nice little niche or niche, or however you say that. I like niche, but I hear a lot of people say niche. But anyway, so in my gameplay, there were a couple things that I thought were interesting, a couple things I thought were good, a couple things I thought were bad. So let's start with some of the good. One of the cool things is that there's no levels in the Secret World. You have an experience bar, and when you get to the end of the bar and you ding, you actually get ability points and skill points to spend to kind of build your character, but there is no level associated with that, so you're not grinding to max level or anything like that. The other interesting thing is you don't actually choose a class. You're just a human. You pick a human and you kind of place your skills when you gain levels, and when you gain these points, you put your points where you want to, but it's not restricted by any kind of archetype that you create when you're creating your character. So there's a lot of freedom in kind of like the choices. Now, obviously, with all of that freedom, that you could probably build a character that is just sort of good at like everything, like kind of bad overall. So you still want to build certain ways. I'm sure there's ways, if you're researching the forums and stuff, it's like, okay, if you want to actually be competent at all, you should try to focus on this or focus on that. But in general, the skill tree is this huge, massive wheel of different options, and it's you can kind of choose whatever you want. So if you want to go shoot people with a shotgun and then beat people in the face with a hammer and then shoot a lightning bolt at them, you can do all of that and more. So that's kind of interesting. It actually kind of reminds me of old school role-playing games. Like you have like the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game where you're like, all right, I'm going to choose a fighter, and because I'm a fighter, I cannot cast spells. Or you choose a wizard, and because I'm a wizard, I can't use this weapon or whatnot. And then another role-playing game came out called GURPS, which kind of is more like the Secret World, where it just allows you to kind of pick what you want to do. If you want, to shoot fireballs while wearing plate armor, so be it. But in Secret World, the skills are kind of like that. The other good things about it, it has a really cool vibe to it. It is very story based. There's a lot of cutscenes. If you don't like cutscenes, you might not like this, but there are a lot of cutscenes. Now, there's no dialogue tree. It's not like a BioWare game where, you actually kind of choose the dialogue. But there are a lot of cutscenes, so you can kind of figure out what's going on, trying to piece things together. It's very odd. You eat a bug, at least the cutscenes that I went through, you eat a bug and you wake up and you have these magic powers, and then you're contacted by these organizations, and they put you under the influence of some sort of, drug that allows you to kind of wake up in someone else's body, halfway across the world. And I went to a little town in Maine, and there were zombies everywhere, and so it's like it is a modern day setting, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on. So that was really neat, and you kind of want to always figure out, like, all right, well, I want to get to the next thing so I can find out what's going to happen next and stuff like that. And that's a really good thing to have you like drawn in to just find out what's happening. So that's really cool too. Now, some of the things I've seen a lot of people talk about the combat system and how it doesn't really feel like you're hitting things. It feels maybe a little bit floaty, or it's not that visceral. And I can kind of see where they're coming from on that. I'm not sure if I would have formed that sort of opinion if I hadn't heard about it before I played, but I definitely noticed that. I don't know what it is. It's either the animations or the timing or like the sound design or a combination of all three. It does feel a little bit not as fun, not as responsive as some other MMOs out there. That said, I don't think it's awful, and I don't think it's would be a reason why I wouldn't play the game. It does not detract enough from it, and I know that they made some recent improvements from this last beta weekend, so hopefully they'll continue to do that. I don't think it's a game breaker. Another thing that was interesting is I was trying to play from level 1 right from character creation with a buddy of mine, and it really kind of started to feel like a single-player role-playing experience. There were quite a few instances, a lot of cutscenes, and we were constantly like forced to be apart. Now I'm sure that that's something that'll get better the further you get into the game. I know that there's dungeons and there's other things that you can do together. And once we kind of get into one of the first questing areas, it was easier to kind of group up. But that's just something I mentioned, that it did feel a little bit like a single player role playing experience right in the beginning, which was a little odd. And let's see, what else? Oh, one of the things I do like, forgot to mention this before, is there are a lot of kind of like puzzles and things you can figure out. Like, not all the quests are about like lopping off the limbs of the closest monster or collecting another pile of poop. World of Warcraft has a lot of poop quests. They actually have some quests or some missions where you're trying to figure something out. Like, I had this one mission where I was hacking into a guy's computer account to find some information, but I needed to figure out his password using kind of clues that were left around and stuff like that. And the interesting thing is they give you an in-game browser that actually brings up Google, and it's all done within game, and so you can actually search for different things to try to figure out clues. So they'll give you like hints, like, try to find out this composer who might have, sung this song, to try to figure out what the password is. The problem is when you're typing these composer information into Google, one of the first things that comes up is looking for the secret world password for the computer. Click here, kind of thing. So I wonder how long term, there's going to be people that genuinely want to figure things out, and there's going to be people that want to just get to the answer and move on. And for the people that genuinely want to figure things out, how hard is it going to be to avoid spoilers while you're searching for these things? Because these are going to be the top items that come up. So that's like the downside of this type of system in the information and the internet age that we're living in. But it's still fun for them to try something new, try something unique. Some people love those puzzles. Let's talk about the sub fee for a minute, because this is probably the hardest thing for me. This is a game that, let me put it this way. I love fantasy. That's like my genre. I also like science fiction. And so a modern day setting MMO, even though there's some sci-fi or kind of supernatural elements in this, it's not typically my genre that I'd be attracted to. But that said, I was having a ton of fun playing. I would play some more. But there's a sub fee, so not only do you have to buy the game, you have to pay a monthly fee. There's also a lifetime membership, I believe, that you can get, something, a couple $100, something like that. But but that said, I feel like this game is caught in this transition period in the game industry where 4 or 5 years ago, they started developing this game, and a lot of the temperature of the marketplace there was a sub fee for an MMO was expected. It was just something that most games were coming out with a sub fee, and it was kind of odd to find a free-to-play MMO, and if it was, you thought it was going to be like subpar. The internet has totally changed directions. We're seeing this more and more. Free-to-play is the new norm. It does not mean that it's a low-quality game. They're just going to make their money through microtransactions or a cash shop of some sort. And we've seen a lot of MMOs switch to a free-to-play model and actually start becoming very successful. And we have games like League of Legends, Tribes Ascend. These games you just download for free, you start playing for free, and they support by microtransactions. And then in August, we're going to have Guild Wars 2, a really, awesome, robust MMO experience with no sub fee. So I feel like the Secret World is caught a little bit in this transition period, and they had to make a decision years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when they started designing it, that this is going to be a sub-game, and they kind of designed the game around that. You got to keep in mind, there's also investors and different people that are kind of, expecting that sub-fee, and it's kind of hard last minute to change directions like that, even though the tide of the industry has changed. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Are they going to have enough subs to keep that model going, or is it the type of scenario where they're going to eventually have to go to a free-to-play model to sustain themselves? It's going to be interesting to see. I hope they're successful. I'm kind of doubting it. I think they're going to have to go free to play because, again, this is kind of like a niche genre. It does not have broad appeal. It's going to have a real strong appeal to some people that want different or like this kind of theme a lot, because there's some people that are just going to go nuts over this type of game. But I don't know if it has the broad appeal or not. Now, for me personally, I'm used to paying a sub fee. I subscribe to World of Warcraft. I'm still subscribing to World of Warcraft since day one. I subscribed to SWTOR for a little while. I'm not opposed to spending a sub fee, but I'm not going to do it for this time around. The game looks interesting. I would certainly play it if it was free to play. If it was free to play, I would certainly have it installed on my PC and pop in from time to time, and I would probably play it a whole lot on launch day. Yeah, so I'm kind of sad that there's a sub fee to the game. I wish it didn't have that. I wish it didn't. I really do. Alright, so there you have it. There are my thoughts about the Secret World. What are your thoughts? Is it worth the sub fee? Did you enjoy what you've seen of the game? Is it unique? Is it interesting? Do you like the puzzles? Let me know what you think. Are you going to play? Leave me a question or a comment in the comments field below, and click on the like button. Share my videos with your friends, and click the subscribe button so you can be notified when future videos are released. You can also contact me on Google+, Twitter, and Facebook, where I promise to do less annoying voices than that. Okay? Thanks, everybody, and have a great day. No. How many times do I have to tell you? This game has no levels.